Hey, yo, what's the deal? Man, that's your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag. You know what I'm saying? After this recording, it is 12 p.m. March 15, March 20th, 55. You know what I'm saying? And right now, I'm just chilling, washing my dishes. I just came back from the supermarket right here in Fort Greene. You know what I mean? And I was also thinking about something yesterday because there was this girl who I knew, right? And you know, she got out. There was this girl who came out of the Popeyes right there on. I think it's on the next block after Carlton, right here on Myrtle, on Fulton and Myrtle. Yeah, Fulton and Myrtle, on Myrtle and fucking, you know, right there across the street where Fort Greene Projects is at, right across the street from Fort Greene Park. You know what I mean? Like 2 blocks down this shit. You know what I mean? And you know, I think it was, you know, it's right there where the Chinese restaurant is at. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Right there in Fort Greene. Right there on Myrtle and I think Carlton or the next block after that. You know what I mean? It's this girl named Katrina who I had a crush on like for mad long. You know what I mean? And I have not seen her since I did my GED class. You know what I mean? I didn't know she saw me. I knew that was her. You know what I mean? It was in the nighttime. So I definitely would have said something. You know what I mean? I would have got that number and just, man, because she's a dime. You know what I mean? I would have been like, boy, them back shots, boy. You know what I mean? Damn. I hope I see her again. You know what I mean? Because I definitely want that number. For sure. She's a dime. She had, you know, brown skin with chinky eyes. Oh, my God. And some nice big tits. I don't give a fuck if y'all get mad. I don't care. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is not about that. It is about someone who should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, PW Insider came out with a report about one Ken Shamrock, saying that there are discussions about inducting Ken Shamrock in the Hall of Fame, you know, but nothing has been, you know, discussed yet. Nothing has been announced yet and such. Ken Shamrock deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, I felt like Ken Shamrock was robbed of a prominent wrestling career. You know what I'm saying? Because Ken Shamrock basically is a trendsetter. Remember, and I said this before, right? About Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock is a guy who he's a trendsetter. You know what I mean? He was the first UFC, the very first UFC star to transition into pro wrestling and to become a star. But remember, he was also a pro wrestler before he got into MMA. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, the dude might not have charisma, right? We know how he talks and such. But just him being, the world's most dangerous man who ABC, proclaimed to make him as, he was able to find a niche. Like everyone knows who Ken Shamrock is. You know what I'm saying? As a former UFC champion who, got into wrestling and he became a powerhouse. Remember, he had a decent WWF run. He did. For the short time that he was there, for the 2.5 years that he was there, he did not do bad at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, this man was a tag champ, right? With him and the Big Boss Man. I thought that team was fucking great. You know what I'm saying? He was Intercontinental Champion. He was a good champion. He was King of the Ring. You know what I mean? And, he could have went far. But again, I don't know what happened. It was something there that went down between him and the WWE. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, look, he wound up going to TNA. He was TNA NWA champion, NWA TNA champion. So he had a decent wrestling career after UFC, right? And then he wound up going back to UFC. And of course, it was not, his second run in UFC was not as dominant as his first one. Because I remember watching those early UFC shows when it was on VHS. I remember when I was living in Crown Heights, right? There was a video store right there on St. John's and Utica, right? It was right there next to the pizza shop. And, they had a video store there. And, in the back, they had, they had porn tapes and such. But also, like, I seen, Ultimate Fighting. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I picked it up, I rented it, you know what I mean? And I fell in love with it. And that was actually one of the first times that I seen Ken Shamrock. You know what I'm saying? So, Ken Shamrock, like I said, Ken Shamrock is a guy who is deserving of it. Because if not for him, right, he would never broke that mold of UFC guys going into WWE or getting into pro wrestling, period. Right? We would never seen the likes of fucking, Matt Riddle, Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey, even back and forth, Brock Lesnar, and so, it's funny because, and mind you, and that's another thing I forgot to bring up too. Yes, Dan Severn was also there. Yes. But the difference between Dan Severn was a beast in UFC. That motherfucker was a beast. But I think because Ken Shamrock looked more like, your typical good old American boy who will fuck you up. You know what I mean? And Dan Severn looks like fucking Mike Hagar. They decided to go with Dan Severn more. He was clean cut and everything, right? But the thing, but also remember, Tank Abbott also got into pro wrestling, right? And he was a UFC guy. So, like I said, if it was not for Ken Shamrock, you would not be seeing that. You really wouldn't. I think Ken Shamrock, he more than deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why it took this long. I don't know if there was issues with him and Vince. I'm not absolutely sure. But also, I think he would make history. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's in the UFC Hall of Fame. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's in the UFC Hall of Fame. But if he is, and then he gets into the WWE Hall of Fame, I mean, that's historic. But the question is, who inducts him into the Hall of Fame? Who? That's the question. Also, remember, he had great matches with Vader. I think that was Vader's best feud in the WWF with Ken Shamrock. You know what I mean? Because they brought, not only they wrestled in the WWF, but also remember, they wrestled in Japan. They had a match in Japan and such. And you know what? I'm actually gonna put the link to the video to that under the comment section. But I mean in the description. But again, with Ken Shamrock, he's a guy who basically he was legit one of a kind. And again, he was a trendsetter. And would I have loved to see him as WWF champion? Yes, I do. Absolutely. But I think because he was stiff, he hit motherfuckers too hard and stuff. I think that's why, they didn't put him as a WWF champion. But listen, like he was not bad in the ring at all. He really was not. No, I mean, he was decent. Like I say, he was stiff, but he was decent. But I would take him over a lot of fucking people. He's a tough motherfucker too. Now, I mean, that motherfucker is tough. And yes, even though he got his ass whipped by Tito Ortiz and stuff, I still got respect for Ken Shamrock. But I would have loved to see him in the Hall of Fame. I honestly would. I would love to see him in the WWF Hall of Fame. I do think he will be inducted. Again, the question is who inducts him in the Hall of Fame. The question is who. That's a question that you have to ask yourself. You know what I mean? And mind you, when he was wrestling in TNA a couple of years ago, he was not in bad shape. I'm surprised WWE didn't sign him back there. And that shocked the fuck out of me because shit. Imagine him and Brock Lesnar at that time. That match would have been money. It would have been money. It definitely would have been money. Damn. The reason why I'm saying damn is because I'm looking at, for those that know, Channel 7 Eyewitness News, like the weather lady, the brown skinned one. God damn, nice and thin. God damn, like, Yeah. And I'm on that kind of time, bitch. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck. But yes, Ken Shamrock deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I know it will happen, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But let me know what y'all think, you know what I'm saying? And I definitely got another video I will be doing tonight. You know what I mean? So I'm going to definitely holler at y'all.